"You're not really mine." She said it for 20 years. Then I inherited her house. My stepmother had a favorite phrase, and she used it like a knife. "You're not really mine." She said it so often it stopped hurting. It just became noise, like the squeaky floorboard in the hallway, or the faucet that dripped every time the wind blew west. I was 7 the first time I understood exactly how literal she meant it. We were at a photo studio, the kind with the fake painted backdrop and the lights that make your eyes water. The photographer waved me into the family shot. Brenda's hand landed on my shoulder before I got there. She steered me toward the plastic waiting room chairs, smiled without her eyes joining in, and said, "Blood only, sweetheart." After that, I learned how to disappear. I rode in the back seat during birthday dinners. I sat in the last row at my stepsister's graduation, up where the air gets thin. There's still a photo hanging in that house. Christmas 2009. My dad, Brenda, and her 2 golden kids. On the left side, there's a gap in the frame. That's where I used to stand before she asked me to step out of it. Kyle and Chloe got everything. New cars, driving lessons, tuition, paid in full. I got my father's guilt, folded into a $20 bill, and slipped to me in the garage when Brenda wasn't looking. He never once stood up to her. Maybe he was scared of her. Maybe silence was just easier than a fight. Either way, he watched it happen, every year, and did nothing. I packed my bags the day I turned 18. Graveyard shifts at an Amazon warehouse until my hands split open. Then a CDL, a truck, and a logistics company I built out of pure, unfiltered spite. I missed a decade of Thanksgivings, and didn't feel the gap once. Then, 12 years later, my phone rang. It was Chloe, sobbing so hard I could barely make out the words. My dad had died in the driveway. Heart attack. Fast. That's when Brenda made a discovery that would ruin her year. The house, the one I grew up feeling like a ghost inside, was still in my father's name alone. His will, written before he ever married her, left it entirely to me. The calls came fast after that. Brenda, screaming. Kyle, threatening lawsuits he had no grounds for. Chloe, begging. Some aunt I hadn't spoken to since middle school, lecturing me about family. I blocked every number. A few days later, the estate attorney's letter arrived. Clean deed. No loopholes, no survivorship clause. The house was 100% mine. Brenda showed up at my Chicago apartment 2 days later. I still don't know how she found the address. She looked smaller than I remembered, like something had let the air out of her. "They're giving me 60 days to clear out," she whispered. "I've lived there 20 years. I have nowhere to go." I looked at her and saw every holiday I spent staring at the back of her head from a car seat. "Meet me at the house tomorrow," I said. "I want to walk through it first." She hugged me, crying, telling me she always knew I had a good heart. I let her believe it. The next morning, the whole welcoming committee was on the porch. Brenda, Kyle, Chloe, the aunt, watching me like I was a lottery ticket that had wandered up the driveway. I walked in alone, ran my fingers along the door frame in the hallway, where my dad used to pencil in our heights. Kyle, Chloe, nothing with my name on it, not one mark. Brenda followed me into the kitchen. I know things weren't perfect, but I raised, "No," I said, setting my keys on the counter. "You didn't. You made sure I knew I wasn't really yours. Every holiday for over a decade. You had me wait in the car while you blew out candles." Her face hardened. "That was a long time ago. People change." "Maybe." I picked my keys back up. "But here's the truth, Brenda. I'm not really yours. You made that very clear. So this isn't really your house." I didn't throw her out with nothing. I gave her 120 days instead of 60, paid for movers myself, and wrote a check covering everything she'd ever put into that property. My lawyer thought I'd lost my mind. I didn't do it for her. I did it so I wouldn't become someone who enjoys another person's ruin. I sold the house. I didn't want the memories, and I never wanted to drive past it again. Last spring, a letter came from Brenda, an apology, her side of the story, a plea to be family again. I read the first line, folded it, and fed it to the shredder. I built my own family from nothing. A wife who chose me, 2 kids who never doubt they belong, a dog with a crooked leg nobody rescued out of pity, and a dinner table where no one has ever had to ask permission to pull up a chair. She doesn't get